Let's go, Ricky Roll. Let's go, Ricky Roll. Vámonos, vámonos. Ricky Roll. Vámonos, vámonos. Ricky Roll. Vámonos, vámonos. Ricky Roll. Vámonos, vámonos.
And welcome to another edition of the Let's Go Ricky Roll podcast. As always, we are here every single week. I'm your host, Beto Duran, joined by former big leaguer and the name of the show, Ricky Romero. How you doing, Rick?
Good, man. How are you? Trying to hang in there, man. Hoping this thing's over soon.
Yeah, it is. You got the East LA shirt on, East Los, rocking it?
That's right, man.
Look at you. All right. Well, I got my high school baseball jacket somewhere back there, so I don't have a whole city like you do. First of all, thanks a lot to everybody joining us. Our guest is going to be Aaron Sanchez, big league pitcher. And before we get to Aaron, you guys see the hat that Ricky's wearing? If you're watching us on YouTube, that's from West Side Love. They were cool enough to hook us up with a couple of hats. And this isn't an ad. We're not getting anything out of this, but they took care of us. So Ricky got a cool hat. I got the Padre Brown, bring back the Brown. Once again, this isn't an ad, so just go to Westside Love, check them out. And Ricky, you found them organically, right?
Yeah, actually, it was just funny. I was telling Jordan, who's the owner of the company, I was telling him the story. I was like, yeah, do you guys just happen to pop up as a sponsor page on Instagram? I saw the logo, being a West Coast guy, and I was like, I'm sold, and they have fitted hats, new era, and that's how it started. And then I shot him a message, he shot me a message back, and then you obviously joined in, and we've kind of developed this little friendship.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so they're gonna take care of some of the West Coast guys, so that's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. And you see the shirt, if you're watching this on YouTube, over my shoulder, West Side is the shirt right there. So go to West Side Love, go and check out their gear. A lot of their stuff is backed up on back order. That's how popular it's gone. And their story, I think one of these days we got to get him on, Jordan, talk about how they had the campaign Bring Back the Brown, trying to get the Padres Brown back in there. And it's pretty cool. Great quality material. Once again, not a commercial, not an ad. They're not a sponsor. This is just us being organic like that. If we like something, we like something. And also, Rick, your 101 cider, which I need some. When we were doing the show at your house, I was drinking the 101 cider. Now we're in quarantine. I'm over here drinking water. 101 cider, it's actually good. Remember, I was getting a little buzz off of them?
Yeah, man. I mean, they're out at the stores now. They're shipping everywhere now pretty much. So if you get a chance, check them out. 101 cider. If you want certain percentage off, I forget, 10 or 15, something like that. Use the code Romero and they should be able to hook it up. Or you can use my wife's code Lang and you can get 15% off.
So if you're the soccer fan, use Lang. Yeah, if you're a baseball fan, use Romero. Exactly. There it is. So once again, welcome to the Let's Go Ricky Roll podcast. This is live on YouTube. If you're listening to us on YouTube, hey, subscribe to the channel. Let us know. Leave the comments. And if you're on iTunes or Spotify, once again, leave the comments, rate, review. Let us know what's going on. We're doing it consistently every single week. We keep on growing. And thanks to all the guys at Pro Angle for hooking us up with the video. John McKelvey, our man from Youngstown, Ohio, is hooking us up. And right now, we're going to bring on this week's guest. And if you want to check out past shows, we had Sergio Romo, who had a great time. Kevin Pillar had a great time. And today's guest, Ricky, is a dude who said he's been wanting to come on. Who is it?
It's my homie, my little brother, Aaron Sanchez. I met him back. The time I met him was around the same time I met Kevin Pillar, because they both came into Athletes Performance, which was called at the time API, now Exos. They came into the facility out in Carson and started training with us. And we developed this friendship right from the get-go. And he's one of the guys I consider literally like a little brother to me. We've stayed in touch. Obviously he saw me when I was in the big leagues and he was in short season. And then, he climbed the ladder. He was probably one of the guys who replaced me after, which is totally fine, and obviously we talk about my downfall all the time. And, when I saw him get to the big leagues, it was like I got to the big leagues, honestly. And, hard worker and just a blue collar type guy, you know, and I feel like he's never really taken anything for granted. And you see it, you know, you saw he was an all-star 1 year in San Diego, which I can't wait to talk to him about that. And yeah, I mean, it's just, like I said, so happy for all the success. And, you know, I know injuries are part of this game sometimes. So I hope, you know, he gets over them and we see him back on the mound soon.
Yeah, today's guest on the Let's Go Ricky Roll podcast, and he's on video joining us, and Aaron Sanchez. You hear Ricky Romero say that about you, you even started smiling up a little bit, right? Didn't you get a little emotional there?
I mean, the feeling's mutual. Ricky knows exactly how I feel about him, and that's the same way. And actually, Kevin Pillar is the one who actually encouraged me to reach out to Ricky, because I heard you guys talking about APIs. Like, that's exactly when I met Ricky. And, you know, if Kevin's willing to talk about his story, I'm willing to get on here and just chat about whatever we got going on today. So I'm excited. Ricky, you know, the feeling's mutual, and I can't thank you enough for the guidance, you know, all the way up until this point, even, you know, going through the last few years, you know, reaching out and just being that guy that had been there and done that and just shedding light, you know?
Yeah. Aaron, go ahead, Rick.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, Aaron, you obviously came up through the Blue Jays organization, and you were watching Ricky. You mentioned that API is a facility in Southern California where a lot of guys go and work in the off season. So you're a kid who is in the minors, and you see the big leaguer there working. A lot of times, and we've seen this, where the big leaguers are like, that kid's trying to get my job. I ain't talking to him. Ricky was different, right?
Yeah, well, like for me too, when I got there, Phil, like Kevin said, Phil Hughes was there, Cesar Ramos was there. There was a couple other big league guys there. And I was like 18 at the time, so nobody knew who I was. So I was just going to keep my mouth shut and just go to work. You know, I was there to learn what was going on. It was the biggest thing up at that time. And, you know, I caught wind that Ricky was there. And obviously, you know, him being in the major leagues with the Blue Jays, I watched him, you know, when I was in low A and rookie ball and all sorts of those things. And it was easy for me. He just came up. He just came right up to us, really. I mean, it was like there was no ego. He made it super fun. Like he always was willing to like invite us over. He knew that I was traveling from far away, so he's like, bro, if you ever need a place to stay or whatever, you know, my place is always open. It was just like super cool from the get go. So yeah, I was 18 and, you know, a little starstruck too. You know, these are guys I'm watching on TV and now I'm right next to them watching everything they do and getting a firsthand look at what it takes to be successful at the highest level, really.
And it's funny, Beto. It's funny because when he came in, he never said he was a top draft pick for the Toronto Blue Jays. He never said any of that. And then little by little, somebody brought it up and I was like, wait, so his nickname at API was the Sanchez. That's what we started calling him. So it started like that. And I was like, whoa. I didn't even know, you know, because obviously when you're in the big leagues, a lot of people think that big leaguers are following the draft and who's a first rounder, who's a second rounder and stuff like that. Nobody really follows it when you're up there. You know a little bit of what's going on, but you don't know who's being picked in the supplemental round and stuff like that. So it was just one of those things where he never said anything. Like I said, he was always humble, like really just boom, I want to work. And I know you did a show with us there back in the day, Beto,
yeah.
And you came in. So all these guys were all young pups during that time.
Was it 2012 maybe or 10 or something? No, 2009 or 10.
11 and 12.
Okay. Yeah. So what it was is ESPN Los Angeles has just started a website and I was training to do a marathon. So they had told me, hey, why don't you go and figure out some athletes you can work out with? So I did a little video and I reached out to Ricky. I didn't even know Ricky at all. But I'm like, okay, let me go do a workout. So I did the entire API workout with Ricky, with Ramos. I think it was just
Sanchi with Pilar. They're probably all there, dude.
Yeah, Pilar, Sanchez, and there was a couple other dudes. Like Chase Utley was there, but I did the actual workout. We recorded it. It's actually on YouTube somewhere. And I'm over here thinking, man, it's January. I'm going to do the marathon in 2 months. I'm in shape. Blah, blah, blah. I got my ass kicked that day by the dudes at API. And they were like, okay, here's the cool down. I'm like, fuck the cool down. I'm done already, bro. Like running the marathon was easier than the workouts you guys were doing. And I'm over here thinking, man, they're pitchers. How hard is their workout going to be? Nah. It was really work. And now look at you.
That was a tough time for me too, like getting to know my body and like, dude, I came out of high school. I was like tall and super skinny. I had no strength and like the concept that we were like learning there at API was like, you know, these dudes had been there for years. So I'm like a young guy, and I'm the same guy. I'm like struggling every day. Like, I don't even want to go back, but I'm like, man, this is too much money. I better stick to my commitment.
And Sanchez was driving, I think we were driving from Barstow, right?
Yeah, at times.
Barstow to Carson, man.
That was 2 hours minimum. You were doing that every day?
2.5 to 2 hours and 45 minutes. Yeah, I would leave at like, I would spend my whole day like driving, really. I'd wake up at like 5:30. I would leave at 5:30. I would get there, like, sometimes I would even be late, bro. There's times where I'd like hop in the HOV lane with nobody on just to make sure I made it on time, you know?
Yeah.
And, and then we would, we'd get done, and I would drive all the way
Barstow
back.
Barstow to Carson, I mean, it's dry.
Yeah, let's go back to the beginning. So, Aaron Sanchez, you got to the big leagues. We told you this isn't going to be your traditional interview where it's like, hey, how was the season? How's this team? What's the projection? Forget all that. We don't care about all that. So you're going to do millions of those kind of interviews. But how many people are actually going to go and ask you, hey, when you live in Barstow and you're moving on up, right? Let's go back to your roots. Grow up in Barstow, which is, if you've ever driven from Vegas to Las Vegas, LA to Las Vegas, Barstow is where you stop for In-N-Out, Del Taco, some Tommy's, and on the way there, you're all excited. And on the way back, you're like, fuck, we're barely in Barstow because you're hating your life after a Vegas bender, right? That's Barstow.
Yes, for sure. Yes, Del Taco is the god in Barstow. We're known for the first Del Taco, so that's a must stop. If anybody who's watching this ever gets to go by, make sure you stop by Del Taco. It's a lot different than any of the ones out there. But yeah, dude, Barstow, it's a pit stop, really. You know, I knew for me, like growing up, I was always the one that kind of stood out in town, but I was a big fish in a small town. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, there's a lot of those. How are we gonna expand this? How am I gonna get? I didn't really know how to get drafted. I didn't really know what the process was gonna be like. But like, all I knew is I wanted to get drafted, and thankfully I had a dude, a teammate and one of my good friends who was 4 years older than me. He was 3 years older than me. He was a senior when I was a freshman, and he was going through the process of, being on the scout team, getting drafted, having pro scouts looking at him. His name's Matt Mitchell. He got drafted by the Royals in 2007, and I ended up making varsity as a freshman, and I was like playing the infield, and I made a throw from a relay before a game when we were doing infield and outfield, and one of the guys asked the Matt Mitchell's dad who that player was, and that's kind of how the door opened up for me. I was able to go play on the scout team. That turned into knowing that there's travel ball out there. That was so brand new to me because, like I said, being from the high desert, there wasn't really much out there. You played league, you played all stars, and then I played basketball, and then after basketball it was football, and you just played sports year round. And I finally got to a point where I wanted to take this serious, and I had an understanding of I wanted to stop playing football one year. My dad gave me an option. I wanted to play travel baseball or soccer, and I didn't think I was really ready to make that step and commitment to like really traveling, because when we get further into this, the travel was insane. So I ended up playing soccer, and it was not really something that I liked. I did it just to kind of be the opposite of what was at hand, and I got in really good shape, and it was super cool. So I took that time to get in shape, but then the next year rolled around, and it was basketball and baseball and basketball and baseball, and then it finally came to just travel baseball, and then everything blossomed from there, really.
And the story is, so Barstow, mentioned it, 2.5 hours away from everything. Big fish, small pond, and there's a lot of people. So to give the background of where you're from for people listening all over the world, there's 2 military bases, and that's the kind of town where you see it all over America, where you grow up, you go to high school, you're the high school star, maybe you go to the junior college, and then that's it, right? And then you get married, have kids, and then you regret a lot of life, right? But
hey, there's another thing too. Shout out to Dino Evil too. Dino Evil's from Barstow, and he was one of those two who was one of my heroes at the time. I mean, if you go check out my Instagram, there's a picture of me when I was like 5 or 6 years old, and he ran his own clinic. in our town, and I'm the first one in line looking up at him and like all that, Dino is here. And he was even just a coach he's only made it as a coach, so just to have that guidance and to have somebody that, had been through the gamut, understanding what it's like to be in the business of baseball, and giving people heads up to come check me out. Hey, I knew from little on, he was always telling us people, hey, I got this kid, come check him out. He's about 5 years away. He's going to be good. So, like I said, shout out to Dino. He's one of my heroes.
Ebo was an Angels third base coach. Knew him for a little bit. He was rep Barstow Proud, and that same thing. Ricky has his East LA shirt. You're repping Barstow Proud because where you're from, it's your roots. Because you're not supposed to come from there, right, Rick? Like East LA, you got discovered your senior year. Is that part of the bond that you and Aaron had? Was that you weren't supposed to make it, but you made it on your own?
Yeah, sure. I think so. I think that has a lot to do with it. I actually talked to about 70 kids the other day, and they're like, "Oh, tell us your story." And I was like, "Well, I came out of East LA. Who the most famous person at the time there was Oscar De La Hoya, and so the odds are already against you because nobody really thinks a big leaguer is going to come out of East LA, and like I told the kids, I was like, it's a lot of work. It's not just like, hey, I'm going to be a big leaguer. Everyone wishes and hopes and dreams that they're going to be big leaguers, but you understand the process, and there's a little bit of luck involved too, right? I mean, for me, it was a LA Times article that kind of got the things going. And then next thing you know, it blew up into Division I schools and stuff like that. And everyone kind of has heard that story. But yeah, I think that's what bonded us together. Just knowing that we came from a small town where nobody really expects you to be anything other than maybe just a high school star, and then that's it, and but yeah, we hit it off quick. Like it was just instantly.
And I think from my point of view too, like I kind of already knew that about Ricky, right? So like I don't think Ricky knew about me, but I knew Ricky's whole story before I even met Ricky. So I was already attached to Ricky in a certain way because that's exactly how I had to grow up. It's the same way that Ricky had to grow up in the sense of like, we ain't supposed to be where we're supposed to be at. And now that we are, it's like you don't take anything for granted. You work until you hang them up, really, and that's the mindset. It's all about work, and like Ricky said, man, it's not one of these things where you just wake up and just be a big leaguer. I mean, there's things that I've sacrificed from 13 to even 28, 27 years old that I am now. That it's a constant sacrifice. It's a constant lifestyle, really, that have to be in or not in. And if you're not in, it's some day it's going to catch up to you. But if you can fully indulge yourself into your dreams and understanding that you allow no one to let you be disgraced or don't even what you guys know what I'm trying to say here, but just don't let anybody tell you can't do it, because I mean, if you look at Ricky and I, we're living proof of somebody who isn't supposed to be where they're at, and all just work extremely hard. We worked extremely hard in whatever it was, when it was time to work in the gym, it was full focus. When we were out on the field in the mound, it was full focus. Whatever it is, it's paying attention to detail, and one of the things that Dino told me when I was super little that always stuck with me is, there's a window of opportunity and that door might only be open this big. And if it's that big, you need to go in there and slam it right behind you. So I think that mindset kind of helped me too as I was growing up, is like, always stay ready. If you're always ready, then you don't have to get ready. You'll always be ready for the situation. And that's kind of been embedded in me from day one, obviously being from where I'm from, but also having that mindset and that guidance from somebody who actually lived it, which is I'm very thankful for.
And I think from early on too, Beto, you can see Aaron's not the type of guy that needs to be pushed. He was never the type of guy that hey, let's go, dude. Like, no, it's like he knew what he had to do, and it was like, all right, I'm done with this. I want more. Give me more. Like, give me more. Almost to the point where you're like, hey, dude, slow down a little bit. Slow down. Like, that's
the attitude that you got to have. And like Aaron, like this is the first time you and I've ever talked, and we even said it feels like we know each other because we know Ricky and stuff like that. He's raved about you ever since, I think, before you even got to the big leagues. But One last thing I want to touch about is your upbringing, because part of the thing that we talk on this podcast is everybody's like, oh, you get to the big leagues and they see all that stuff, and like the millions in your contract, and everybody knows how much you've made and all that other stuff, but they don't know what it took to struggle to get you. And that's part of the reason why we love having the people on the podcast. And I think that's why people love coming on is you go back to where your roots are. Barstow, we go and say it's a pit stop, right? It's a small town, but at the same time, it's what made you because it's home. At the same time, you could have been the biggest fish in the small pond and just been like, I don't need to work hard, but you needed to prove that stuff. So your travel ball, is it true that your dad put a bed in the back of the truck and you would sleep the 2 to 3 hours that you would go to travel ball practice? Because you were going 3 hours each way to practice in San Gabriel Valley. Is that true?
That's true. It was mostly on the weekend mornings where it was like an 8 o'clock start when we had to leave at like 4:45 or 5 o'clock, and I was not having it. He was like, "Hey, I'll make a bed for you. All you got to do is just hop in." So he's the one who took the brunt of all of it. I'm sitting there, and for me, it was like, I mean, we butted heads a lot. Like I have maybe one of these days I'll have Ricky put it on his website, or you guys can put it on your website. I have a link to a little documentary that I did, and it kind of goes over that too. But I'll touch it here. But I mean, man, we butted heads all the time to the point where like I'm in tears. I'm like telling my mom, tell him I don't want to go. Like it was bad. And he's like, nah, get in. And it was always when I got there, it was like a matter of getting there was hard, And then the whole way home, it's like we're just chatting away. Life is great, but it's like, man, that span from about 4:30 in the morning to 6:30 in the morning. My dad really did not like me. And I had a bad thing too, where he would like come in and like he would have to shake me to wake up, because if you're talking to me, I could just be like, okay, and go right back to sleep and not even remember, right? So there was times, and I mean plenty of times, where he's like, all right, I'm gonna wake you up, I'm gonna go get gas, and I'm gonna come back, you better be ready. Well, he's telling me that and I don't remember. So he comes back 15, 20 minutes later and I'm still sleeping, bro, and he's pissed, and now I'm gonna make him really late, because now we gotta get on the freeway and he's got to drive twice as fast to get us there on time, So I had to tell him, I'm like, hey, if you're coming in here, you got to shake me to wake me up, because you're talking to me and you think I'm answering and saying okay, and I don't really remember it. So once we cleared the air on that, things got a little bit better. And when I got my first piece of mail in the mail from a college, it was just like a questionnaire, something really basic, but the light bulb clicked for me. It was like, oh, this is what we're trying to accomplish, And I think when we started, it was just like, I'm just trying to get college paid for. You know what I'm saying? I was a good student. Why not allow myself to have athletic ability, pay for, if not half, all my schooling, get a degree, and that's just was the goal there, and let everything else be thankful for. And so that's kind of how that started. Yeah. So that is.
You wanted to quit?
What's that?
You wanted to quit?
No, I didn't want to quit. I just didn't want to go to practice. I didn't want to go to travel for 2 hours, and then because it's different. Where you're in that are down the hill, and it takes them 20 minutes to get there. It's like they get to wake up at 7:45, leave their house at 8:15, be at the field about 8:45, have a game at 9. It's like, bro, I'm up at 6, leaving at 6:30, sitting in the car for 2.5 hours, then having to get loose, and then having to go play, and then having to do it all the way back home. It's just for me, that was all I had. That's the only thing I knew. I had nothing else. So for me, it was just like, all right, if you're gonna do it, you gotta be committed. And it really challenged me here at a young age to really, I knew what commitment was. And that was the big thing my dad said is, if you're going to do this, you got to commit. You're not going to be like everybody else who starts it and then finishes it. So not only did I have to really get that mindset down, I had my dad pushing that from behind and not allowing me, and before we get started there too, my stepdad is the one who raised me, but has been in my life since I was 6 months old. And so he's dad in my eyes, and my real father, he passed away when I was 5 years old, and I still talk to the Sanchez family, and everything's still good. But my stepdad was a guy who, was drafted twice by the Angels, didn't sign, led led NCAA in strikeouts, pitched on Saturday, closed on Sunday, pitched on Tuesday, like that, you know, and went to Tulsa, Oklahoma. Like, that's just what he did, right? Then had a kid at 19. And so he did a lot of things that I don't want to say he regretted, but he wished he would have done differently, right? So now that he has this kid put into his life who is not only his best friend, but loves baseball and something that, you know, felt like he got taken away because he ended up having shoulder issues and couldn't really go past anything. So I was like, he was Dr. Frankenstein in a sense, you know. He some of our family members joke around about it because I was like his little science project, and I had no problem doing it because it got me everything I ever dreamed of, you know, and I can't thank him enough, really.
So Sanchez, so obviously, I mean, what commitment to be able to go through at such a young age, and like you said, what it did for you mentally, you know, I mean, that's the important part.
Bro, it's easy. I'm like, bro, this is cake. I've done this my whole life. Like, guys, you know, they want to quit because they can't go on bus rides or it's too much. It's like, bro, I've done this my whole life. Like, this is nothing new. This is nothing new. Like, it's another day in the books for me, you know. But but like for those guys, when you get to the minor leagues and you think it's gonna be greener on the other side, and it ain't, you know. It's like, bro, this is what you know.
And I think one of the things that I like that you said again, and a lot of our guests have said this, Beto, is he was a multi-sport athlete. You know, he wasn't, you know, as much as he was committed to baseball and waking up early and doing all that shit, you know, he was still playing other sports. And, you know, one of the things we talk about here, Sanchi, is how kids nowadays want, you know, they're so like worried about signing a letter of intent in 8th grade, 9th grade, and they're worried about little championship rings that they get. And
everybody wants a like or wants the recognition. It's like, bro, like if you just dominate your sport or you dominate your craft or you dominate whatever, all that stuff's gonna come. Like, don't go chasing that stuff. Like, just go dominate what you need to dominate. And when it's time, like, you'll know, like, everything happens for a reason. I'm a firm believer in that. It's like, hey, just commit to the, like, but it's hard too. Some people can't see a bigger picture. I was that kid too, you know. When I'm in the minor leagues, it's like, why am I not in the big leagues? Why am I not in the big leagues? Why am I not in the big leagues? You know, but I can't get mad at myself because that's what kept the fire going to, you know, to keep pushing myself. But at the same time, it's like when you're that young and you want something right now and you're so impatient, you don't even have that outlook on things, you know, and that does suck. And for me, I'm kind of a little bit of both of those guys in the sense of I played basketball up until my freshman year of high school, and how the season lays out, it's like you go preseason basketball, you play your league games, you have 2 non-league games, you finish up in league, and then you play playoffs. Well, we're like right in the non-league, right between, you know, going into the second half of the season, I guess you could say. And I ended up fracturing my left wrist. And I had to put they wanted me to wait 6 weeks to put me in a cast. They wanted to do all these things. And I'm thinking in my head, I have baseball tryouts in like 4 weeks. Like, how am I going to do this, right? So there is a fracture in my wrist. I'm like, like this isn't good. You know, all my dream up to this point was wanting to be on varsity as a freshman because that would have been the only time I got to play with Matt Mitchell. And, you know, Matt Mitchell was the god from 9 years old. You know what I'm saying? Let alone a guy who I've idolized because he's about to live everything that I want to live. You know what I'm saying? And I'm coming right behind him. Sorry, let me get this here.
Go ahead, man. Take your breath. You're fired up. I knew you wanted to be on the podcast. Look at you. I told you down memory lane.
Hey, what was I saying? Remind me where we were going.
The God.
Yeah, but what was the concept? What was the question you had?
Basketball. You hurt yourself.
Oh yeah. I hurt my wrist. So my dad knew some chiropractors in town, and I didn't wait 6 weeks. In 2 days, I had a cast on. I'm like, I got to get this thing like going as fast as I could, right? Probably shouldn't have done it. So here comes baseball tryouts. I missed the first tryout. I'm like, oh my God. I missed the second tryout. I'm like, here goes my dream, right? So I told my dad, go cut my glove, put my hand in the cast, and I'll go take ground balls, right? So it was like one Saturday afternoon. I took the coaches up to a sports park, right? I'm a freshman. I'm like 14 years old. I'm in a cast, right? Like I can't move my wrist. It's only stuck like that. And I'm taking ground balls, throwing it to first, right? Like I can't swing because I'm still in a cast, but like I'm forehand, backhand, like doing all these things, right? So we'll fast forward, and I play freshman, take the cast off. After that year is when I met the scout, was introduced to scout ball. I didn't really know my schedule on what it would be for scout ball. So at the end of the year, the basketball coach wanted me to play summer basketball, and he like called me into his room, and he's like, "Hey, like, are you guys gonna play basketball?" Me and one other player. He's like, "Hey, are you guys gonna play basketball this next year?" And I'm like, "I mean, yeah, probably, but you know." And he's like, "Well, if you're gonna play, I want you to be on the summer stuff." And I'm like, "Dude, well, I got commitments everywhere. Like, I'm playing baseball all summer. I can't show up for this. Like, if I'm here, I can do it. But like my commitments over here." And he's like, "Well, I need an answer before you leave today." And I'm like, "Well, my answer's no, then. Like, because I'm already committed over here." So that was the end of my basketball career right there. I walked out and said, "That's fine." Never played basketball.
You were just,
yeah.
Because you're what,
totally cool.
6'5", locked in, ready to go.
Maybe not then, but I was good. Basketball was my favorite sport. But then too, right? You look at the big picture. It's like there's not going to be many 6'3" Mexicans in the NBA. So it's like you got a good arm. Like, what are you gonna do? You know, like. By the way, happy belated Cinco de Mayo, my fellow heritage.
Hey, we're ready to go. We got Cinco de Mayo. What's up? What you need?
Hey, I saw Diego had one on too. Dare you take it off?
Right. Yeah, he did have it on. So Sanchez, you get to your senior year. By when did you know that, okay, this is this childhood dream of pitching in the big leagues or being drafted? When did it feel like for you, it was like, oh, this is going to happen? I mean, because you obviously now everyone knows about you, you know, you're playing in scout ball teams. So probably like, getting different.
The thing was though, is I never really pitched, right? Like I always played short and I always played third. So like my sophomore year in high school, my dad told the coach, like I could only close. So I could only throw like an inning, 2 innings here and there, right? My junior year, like I pitched, my junior and senior years when I started pitching, like you played like Tuesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday. I would get one of those days every week. So I would get a 7 days. But dude, going into my junior year, I hit like 450, 550 with like 14 homers. I thought I was going to be a hitter. I didn't think I was going to be a pitcher. And then like going from my junior year to my senior year that summer, I went to the Perfect Game National at the Metrodome in Minnesota, and I threw off the mound. I threw 2 innings. I was like 92 to 94. I think I struck out like 5 of the 6 batters that I faced, and like here we go. It was all she wrote. Like you might as well just kiss the bat goodbye. So like I kind of knew right then and there. You know, it was always at the point where it's like, where's the fork in the road? You know, is it going to be this way or is it going to be that way? You know, am I going to hit and be a position player or am I going to be a pitcher? And you know, in high school you have advisors because you can't have agents. And the people who were advising me was actually one of the dudes was Brett Saberhagen. And if you know Brett Saberhagen's story, he was drafted as a shortstop, ended up becoming a pitcher because he didn't want to play short anymore. 2 years he's in the big league, Cy Young, World Series MVP, yada, 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 right? And he put it to me straight up, was just like, hey, I was over here playing short in spring training, and there was only me and like 1 or 2 other guys. He's like, I looked over there, and there was like 35 dudes. He's like, bro, I want to get them back. So and like he just made it. He just gave me like examples of like at a young age to really understand what it's going to be, you know. And then here comes time to draft, and it's like, okay, you can get drafted here and get this much money.
There it is, that perfect game picture, Minnesota.
There it is.
Look at that guy.
Wait, that kid was throwing 94?
Not a lot's changed, bro. And so even with like being drafted, you know, he told me the same thing. You could get drafted here and go make this much money, or you can get drafted here and probably go end up doing this. So like you pick your poison. And so that's kind of after that Perfect Game National is kind of when I knew, all right, pitching. You know, I go to area codes. All I did was pitch. I ended up making the AFLAC team from Perfect Game National. All I did was pitch. When my senior year, I really didn't care about hitting. I knew I was gonna be drafted as a pitcher. So like all my mindset shifted to pitching my senior year, really.
And
so you, like, going to the minor leagues, all this stuff was new to me, bro. Just like, you had a good arm, just go compete, you know. And that's all I did. Is like, we'll get into that later, but pitching super new sense.
And you had a scholarship to go to the University of Oregon, right? You were recruited by Coach George Horton, who I played for at Cal State Fullerton. And did you ever come close to going there, or like were you on the cusp of saying, all right, pro ball can wait, I'm going to take my D1 scholarship? Oregon's an up and coming program. They're Nike'd out from head to toe.
Heck yeah.
How close?
So Nike obviously lured me in a lot. I'm a Nike athlete now too, so needless to say, that was one of the reasons. But going through the whole process of like going to travel ball and doing all these things, I would always ask questions, like, because I knew like pitching was probably going to be what I ended up doing. And if I went to college, like, I just knew it was two different mindsets. Like, college is more now, and if you get drafted in the big leagues, you're more of an asset, and you're more of like somebody who they're going to bring along. So it was like two different things. And you have my dad's input, who went to college and seeing how he got used. So it was like there was a lot of different views on what I wanted to do. At the end of the day, it was always up to me. Going back to the Oregon thing is, dude, I got drafted by the Blue Jays, right? And I'll tell you that story real quick. So I get drafted by the Blue Jays, and I was thinking I was going to be a first rounder. So the first round's on TV, and in between every pick is like 15 minutes or whatever, 5 minutes. Well, once you get to that supplemental round, it's like a minute, and it's just like everything's turning around, right? So I get a call in between the first and the supplemental round. Hey, we're looking to draft you. You take X amount of dollars. I'm like, okay. Here comes the pick. Later they call, hey, we already got 5 players that agreed to the first amount that they gave me. Will you take this? And I'm like, what? And like it's 30, 29, 28, like the clock's winding down, right? So I'm like kind of caught in a bind, you know. I'm like trying to phone my advisor on the other line, crickets, nobody answers, right? So I'm like just like in a panic, like now it's at 15 seconds. They're like, hey, we need to know. So like kind of like missed the whole, like it wasn't as like cool as I thought drafting would be, let alone being drafted was my all-time dream, but just like kind of how it unfolded, right? So
were you having a party?
Like, I'm having a party, yeah, like outside. Like I know I'm about to get picked, so I have to like run back inside, like put on this big show that like I'm happy. You know, like you're thinking of a 17-year-old kid. Oh, I'm drafted in the first round. I'm going to be a millionaire. Blah blah blah. Life's going to be great. And it's like, bro, right off the bat, I got the business side. So like for me, I moved a different way through the minor leagues because I knew that, right? Like I wasn't some 17-year-old kid. Like any money that I got was going to be life-changing money, right? So it's like at that point, it's like, what do you determine more? Like $250,000 is life-changing money to anybody in my situation, right? So it's like on a spectrum, what is it going to take for you to withhold your commitment to Oregon and go sign this contract, right? So they get on the phone and they're telling me like, you know, if we didn't draft you, you wouldn't have been picked and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, bro, time out. Like I could still go to school. I don't have to go. I don't have to sign. Like, no. Like, you know, and then so here came the game. So I wanted to go there, but I think my heart was wanting, like, like I said, and my mindset always reverted back to, there's always this window of opportunity. You know what I'm saying? Like they're picking me with the 34th pick. You know, and when you look at it at a bigger scheme, I'm that organization's second pick. You know what I'm saying? So I go from the 34th pick to somebody's second pick. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to look at it different to where it's not like, because it's the status thing when you're 17 and 18 years old. You know, it's like for me, I didn't care how much money I got. I wanted to be picked the lowest just to be like, you know, because like I said, any type of money that I got was going to be life changing to me. So it's like, just get me as fast as you can. I want that. You know, that's what I want to be marked.
And it's a little bit of what Sanchi's saying about the business side of it. It's crazy how teams put you in these situations, and it's true. Yeah. Like, hey, like everyone thinks like, oh yeah, you get the call. No, like he's saying 15 seconds. Hey, are you going to take it? Yes or no? And then you're panicked. When I was going through my contract negotiations at the time, it's like, hey, are you saying no to this money? Are you sure? Are you going to risk getting hurt out there today? You might never see this money, and they put you in these situations where you're just like, your heart starts beating so fast. But
look at things different. You're like, man, Like, you know, you don't want to second guess yourself because you're always going to go with your gut, but it makes you like veer off there a little bit to like, man, is this?
And at the end of the day, you got to bet on yourself, and you got to just say, all right, I'm going to say no, or Sanchez obviously said yeah, but for me it was like, I'm going to say no to this because I know there's more if I keep pitching well. And at the time I was pitching really, really good, so it's like it just kept, you know, every start it kind of, your money keeps going up and value keeps going higher.
I knew too in college that I had, if I went to Division I, I had to be there for 3 years, right? Like I don't think I was, if I did go to the college route, I would have probably went junior college, knowing that I could get drafted again. You know what I'm saying? Right away. Because I was a good student. Don't get me wrong. School wasn't hard for me. Baseball was just my passion and something I loved. Yeah. I knew what I had to offer. I knew that I could be in the big leagues. Like I was always convinced.
How much did you end up signing for, Sanchi?
Say what?
How much did you end up signing for?
$775,000.
Wow, life-changing money for a kid from Barstow.
Oh my God.
What's the first thing you did?
Huh?
First thing you did?
The first thing I did, I paid off all the credit cards that we used to take me down the hill for gas and for hotels and all that stuff. Some of my parents could, you know, that they did that for me. So once I got that, it's like, all right, thank you. You know, make sure that they're good, make sure that everything's taken care of, so they're not stressing. I didn't buy my first car till I got to the fall league in like 2013. I saved my money. I didn't touch anything. I was like, I still went home. Like I came out here. I became a Florida resident so I could save money on my signing bonus. So I didn't have to take that California taxes. I wouldn't take half as much as I did, you know, coming over here. So I did that story. Yeah.
He ended up buying a place in the same area where I lived.
Oh, okay.
In Florida. So it was like I had a place, Casey Jansen had a place, Sanchi had a place, or he was staying there with Marcus Stroman at the time. And so we all, like the four of us, were like all in this like little section on the same site. And I mean, you know, it was cool because obviously I was a California guy too, but you know, obviously those California hit hard.
Aaron, you get drafted, right? Everybody knows it's a big deal. You're on the front page of the newspaper, not just the sports page, the actual newspaper, the front page. Everybody knows how much you made, yet you still got to go to school. How many people were like, hey, Aaron, by the way, I got this idea for you. Hey, I got this business for you. It might be $775. It sounds like a lot of money, but it's not after taxes, after you pay off everything. It's like, hey, you know what?
And even at that time, I didn't realize that. Like, when I looked at him, I'm like, what? And I had to get schooled on, like, this is what happens. This is what happens. This guy takes this. The world takes that. It's like, all right, so now you can work. Honestly, no, nobody really came up there. Like, but I would always block that off anyways. If that came to me, it's like, nah, you know, like, even to this day, you would have to sit down with me to convince me on, like, I'm not, I'm in it, but it's got to be something that I'm really behind and that I really will, you know, understand to do that. But,
so
maybe a lot of people did, but I don't think any of the people were actually really serious.
Hey,
you know?
Well, Rick, did you ever have a job before that?
People make so much fun of me because they try to throw that card on me, and I lifeguarded for a summer, and I was actually on payroll, so they can't ever take that away from me. That's the only other job I've ever had.
Lifeguard Aaron Sanchez. The reason I asked that is because it sounded like your dad and your mom were like, look, we're going to invest in you, your job. And, you know, we all have kids now. It's like, look, go to school and just play your sport and be the best at it. The support system that you had for all of that. So let's fast forward. You get to Toronto, the big leagues, your first day as a big leaguer. Take us there.
So we were in Reading, Pennsylvania, and I was in AAA, and I started the year as a starter, and it was the All-Star break. Just after the All-Star break, they told me I was going to the pen, and I'm like, all right. So I kind of had an idea that I was going to be called up pretty soon. You know, I only had a certain amount of innings that year, and I was getting them too fast. So the only way that I could get 30 innings over the rest of the year was going out of the pen and coming in for 1 or 2 innings. So we're in Reading, and I get the call at like 1 or 2 in the morning, and I'm going up with Ryan Goins. So going, getting a car service at like 5 in the morning, travel to Buffalo, or we go to the airport, travel to Buffalo. We get in, there's a car service for us there at like maybe 11:30 or something like that. Everywhere I've gone, I slept. I was exhausted. We get there, ask me, I'm nervous, obviously. Goins had kind of been up, so he kind of helped me there. I didn't get to stay at the hotel at the Rogers Center. They put me at one in downtown, so I was like already shook because I'm coming from Barstow and I get to this big city and I look around. I'm like, oh my goodness, like where am I at? It was a little bit intimidating. And so he's like, all right, just go up here. This is how you get to the field. So I went back, took another nap before I got to the field, unpacked my stuff. I talked to Gibby, asking me how I felt, yada, yada, yada. He's like, okay, well, I'll try to stay away from you. And but if I need you, whatever. And when I got there, he's like, I'm going to throw you right into the fire. So first night, every time the phone rings, you like, because now I'm in the bullpen, every time the phone rings, your like heart just drops, right? And I'm like, okay. So then we get out to a big league, and I'm like, all right, well, he told me he's going to throw me right into the fire. So I don't feel like this is an opportunity where I'm going to get in. So like by the 6th inning, I was kind of chilling. End up getting a good night's sleep, coming the next day, and I'm like, all right, today's the day. Like Ari Dickey was throwing, it's Boston, whatever. Here comes 5th inning, start getting loose. 6th inning, all right, he might come out. Okay, 7th inning, he's done, right? After the 6th inning, he's done. So the phone rings and they're like, Sanch, get hot. Bro, I'm hot in like 7 pitches. Right? Like you didn't have to, I was so ready, right? Well, it starts to get a long inning. We were down by 1 and up by 1. So we were down 3-2 and now we're at 4-3, right? And I've already probably thrown an inning and a half in the pen, right? Like just up, down. Guys are like, like some of the older guys are like, yo, Sanch, you gotta chill, bro. Like, you haven't even made it out. You're already ready. So it's 2 outs, and I look at the bullpen coach, and I'm like, hey, Steamer, remind me who I got again? He's like, Pedroia, Poppy, and Napoli. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Okay. So gates open. I'm running out to the field. I'm tripping, right? I'm like, this is everything. I get to the mound. My leg is just like shaking and I can't control it. I'm like, what the heck? Like, I can't control it, right? First pitch, 99, boom. All right. Back to just baseball and everything that I've ever knew, right? End up going 3 up, 3 down. And I remember coming off the mound and I like try to go spit and it just goes boom and like lands on my t-shirt. And I'm like, no. The cameras are like right in on you. So I like try to hurry up and like turn like wipe it down, But that just tells you how nervous I was. Like I couldn't even my mouth was so dry. Like it was just a surreal moment, I get back in there like, yo, you're going back out, and I'm like, now I'm bridging the gap to the closer. It's like we're 6 outs away. I've never pitched out of the bullpen ever in my life. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going out there and just trying to throw strikes and get outs as fast as I can.
Well, when you have 99 in your back pocket, it helps.
Yeah, so
damn.
I go out there my 2nd inning. I get my first strikeout.
Who was it?
First strikeout was Steven Drew. Second strikeout was Dan Nava. I remember my 2nd inning I was facing Xander Bogaerts. I jammed him on a sinker in, and it was a ball that was probably like 7 feet to my right, and I was so nervous that like I hopped to like try to get out of the way. Like it was the funny. Like I look back at it every time and laugh. I'm like, bro, what are you so scared about? Like, but that's just where I was, 20, just freshly 22, like playing with a bunch of grown men that I watched on TV that I idolized for some time, know everybody. It was like Big Poppy, my first, like that's insane. I watched this guy in Minnesota,
I got a funny story behind what Sanchi's saying, that you're trying to like get out of the way of a certain ground ball. I still remember on my debut too. You're also trying to field everything that's within like 3 feet, 4 feet away from you. I remember, I forget the batter, but I threw I got a ground ball and I jumped to try and snag it and turn a double play, but I kind of like alligator arm and I brought my arm down, and Marco Scutero, they ended up turning a double play, and they're like, dude, this is big league defense. Like, you don't have to worry about fielding everything. And I was like, all right. I just remember him saying, like, don't worry, we got it, man. Like, we'll get to these balls quick. Like, this turf, we're used to it. And everything's faster than.
So, right. And then so for me, it go back, like, fast forward to 2015, I got Josh Donaldson, Troy Tulowitzki, Ryan Goins, Justin Smoke. Like, that's my infield behind me. It was like, you know, I just watched that, and everything that was on the ground was an out. It was unbelievable, you know, and it's like, that's just the difference between being in the minor leagues and being in the big leagues. It's crazy. You can see.
And I remember him when he told me he was going up to the big leagues. It's like, honestly, it's like I was making my debut. Honestly, it just felt like that's kind of the bond that we had formed. And he came up. I mean, we didn't really get into this, but just really quick, we'll touch on it. He came up, you know, with, you know, there was a lot of highly touted prospects, pitching prospects at the time. Noah Syndergaard was part of our organization, Justin Nicolino, and all these guys were coming up together. They were like, you know, almost to the point where I don't know if I liked the process that they took, where it was like, all right, you throw 3 innings and the other guy throws 3 innings, and they just protected them so much. And I was like, man, at one point you have to let these guys go, you know, but you know, they brought them up.
Bro, on that topic, I didn't get into the 7th inning until I got into the big leagues, until I'm on a big league mound in the big leagues when I ever entered the 7th inning in my career. It's like, all right, well, now you know you can do it, and now do it every night. It's like, bro, this is, you know, so like even all of 16, dude, I was learning everything on the fly. It's like everything was just like, okay, get it, go. You know what I'm saying? Like I knew I was going to be shipped to the pen. It's like, nah, I'm a starter, bro. You know, so it was a job op every time I went out. It's like, you know, Tom Brady was focused.
He was also part of all those playoff teams in Toronto that, you know, that had all that success.
Yeah.
Which, like, I've talked about it before. It's like, I felt like a part of me was like shattered, you know, because I was like, I want to be a part of that. But I think Sanchi was one of the ones that reached out right away and was like, hey man, you're a part of this, you know, and even though you're not here, you know, this like, some of us owe this to you because you have helped us along the way. And as
and we see that picture there of you with your kids, Ricky, you, Sebastian, Sanchi with your son, and
as a Blue Jay.
That was what?
Start as a Blue Jay.
That was your last start as a Blue Jay. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And you have that, and you know, and I want to get on this, and after this we're going to show pictures of you in Little League. I want you to explain it to us. You know, the bond that you and Ricky have, it sounds like it's a real tight one. And you said you called him, or you let him know that you were going to the big leagues. Why? I mean, you have a lot of things to do, but why reach out to Ricky?
Dude, that like I said, he was one of those dudes that was like a stepping stone. He was the guy who gave me the cheat sheet. You know what I'm saying? Like, be ready for this, be ready for that. When you get to here, be ready for this. When you're going through this, and he was always a phone call away. So even when I was going through those things, I would reach out. Like, I remember you said this. What's this? And he would shoot it straight. You know. And the thing that I always respected about Ricky is he never gave me information that was going to make me feel good. He always just shot me straight, which I totally respected, because it's like, there's no in between. It's like, you do this or you don't, or you do this or you don't. And so I always knew what I needed to, what it took and what I needed to do to get there. So it was like, he was there at every step of the way for me. It's like, bro, like Ricky said, we did this. It was like, I wasn't the only one making it. He was the one making it there with me, because he's seen me since I was 17 years old. You know what I mean? He like watched me grow into a big leaguer. And so for him, it was probably pretty cool. And for me, it was like, man, I wouldn't have been able, or I wouldn't have been as ready or as prepared or as understanding of each level of each situation if I didn't have the insight that I got from Ricky at 17, because it's like going into a test without studying. You know what I'm saying? Wow. That's how it would have been. And for me, it's like he pretty much gave me the answers to what it took. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, for me, I'll be forever thankful for Ricky in that aspect. let alone allowing him to buy my first piece of property off him too.
He ended up buying my place in Florida. Once I got released and got rid of that place, he's the one that ended up taking over. And
the Mexicans keep it all in the family, huh?
All in the family, man. And it goes back though. I mean, I felt like at such a young and early age, I knew that I could be a difference, not on the field, but off the field. And I think I took it upon myself to make sure that I didn't want guys to feel like they were lost. Toronto's a big city, man. And anyone that got there, I was the first one to greet them and say, hey, listen, like anything you need, give me a call, you know. Or when I was down in AAA and these guys were coming up, it was just, I just took it upon myself to make sure that these guys were like, felt comfortable. And I wanted that from them. You know, I wanted them to be comfortable and be like, hey, this is what you need to do. And this is what it takes to be successful. And as we all know, it's the stadiums are bigger, you know, more fans, the media and all that. I mean, it was just, I just took it upon myself to make sure
that's something I took from Ricky too. As I became a big leaguer, it was like I paid that forward to the next guy coming up. You know what I mean? Like even with like Trent Thornton last year coming over from Houston and not really knowing much about Toronto, it's like, hey, look, like whatever you need, I'm a call away, whatever, you know. But I learned that from Ricky because Ricky did the same thing for me. So it's just one of those things. It's a cycle, you know, and hopefully down the road, everybody that I was able to impact the way Ricky impacted me, they can pay it forward to the next generation too. You know, that's what this is all about. It's just preparing this next generation of life to be prepared and have as much information as they can going into whatever endeavor they have.
And also Jeff Proctor, who runs the company Pro Angle, has said to me a lot of times, the company was helping put the podcast together, said, just remember when you're in kindergarten, be nice and play well with others. It really boils down to that, right? Just be a good teammate. Don't be a dick.
That's it. And it's just, it just makes it easier for everyone, whether it was Toronto or if it would have been another city. I think I would have done, I know I would have done the same thing, because when I was coming up, I was coming up with an older group of guys, but I think I earned their respect by doing the right thing and working hard and showing up. And next thing you know, these guys are like, well, this store's open. Make sure you don't go into this one. Doc Halliday's here. Make sure you stay over here. Make sure and you start following direct. But it's all a test. It was all a test for me. And I felt like if I passed that test, they would stop kind of like, you know, doing things that where they mess with rookies. And I think I always had it pretty easy in that sense. I just knew what I had to do and headphones on and not bother anybody.
That concept, like you're a freshman on varsity game, you know? Like you're going to be raking the fields, you're going to be doing the bases, you're going to be doing all the stuff that the freshman does, you know. Once you get to the big leagues, it's like, go get me this, go get me that. And like you said, bro, it's all a test. And the more you can just kind of flick it off your shoulder and just play along in it, the more they're going to like you in the end.
Yeah. Shout out to everybody watching us on YouTube live right now. And if you're listening to us on iTunes or Spotify later on in the week, make sure you go back and you can watch it on YouTube. Also, Sean Sirs, who says the big fish was humble, hardest worker I've ever been around. Art Alvarado, saludos. These interviews are great. And what up to everybody at the Boris Corporation watching us too. Boris Company wants to make sure that Sanchez is praising them. Nah, because Sanchez is now my client. I only charge him 88%. So there we go.
Sanchi, I'm gonna throw out two names at you, and you. I want you to, you know, and this is because I know who you are, and I know what these two guys meant to you, even though you didn't get to play with them, but he was in the organization at the time. And another one, obviously, we talked about it with Kevin Pillar. I mean, a big hero of yours too, Roy Halladay and Kobe Bryant. I mean, what did those two guys mean to you in your career? Obviously, Doc being in the Blue Jays organization, and you guys I think you guys sat in on a meeting with him one day, right? Where he came down to the minors and you guys sat there and listened to him talk.
So I'll start with Kobe first, man. Kobe, I mean, any Southern California who plays sports would Kobe's their idol. I mean, at least for me, I think his Mamba mentality and everything that Kobe stood for was everything that I tried to idolize, and I tried to be Kobe from a young age. You know, just watching him how he went about his craft, what his mindset was is, you know, nobody's ever going to outwork me. You know, being from East LA, that was what it took. So I think Kobe is one of the dudes that, you know, shaped me into that dominant mindset of not allowing anybody to destruct what you put in, you know, like the work you put in is what you're going to get out. And only you as the person is going to know that. So it's a self-evaluation check every day of, am I, you know, being able to look in the mirror and be real with yourself, right? So I think that's what I learned from Kobe, which allowed me to go, you know, I took that same mindset into my schoolwork. I took that same mindset into basketball, into baseball, into everything that I did, and just to want to dominate it, right? So I think Kobe was, you know, I guess you could say like the foundation of Aaron. And then when you get to Doc is just obviously being a Hall of Famer, being somebody who, you know, had the city that I was drafted by, you know, he had the key to Toronto, and he was, you know, what he did on the field and his story and who he was and what he was stood for, and, you know, the work ethic he had. That was just somebody who I wanted to be in the game of baseball, right? Like, so Kobe was who I wanted to be every day, and Doc was who I wanted to be in my craft. And in 2016, they want a way that they wanted to monitor my innings was giving me like I ended up getting demoted, so it was a demotion. For 10 days, I'm down to Florida, you know, kind of just rest up, get my everything underneath me, still throw live BP, still do whatever I do, but just don't have 7 stressful big league innings under my belt, you know, so that come the end of the year, hopefully be in playoffs. And one of our trainers, strength guys that worked out on a daily basis with Doc when he was playing, Donovan Santos, I worked out with when I first came to Dunedin as a 17-year-old. I stayed here and I was like, hey, Dono, like, I want to do the Doc holiday workouts, like, get me on this now, yada, yada, right? So I talked to I talked to Donovan. I'm like, hey, you know, I know you're super close with Doc. Do you think he would be able to come down and, like, just shed some light? You know, like, at the time I was dominating. But for me, like, because pitching was so new for me in general, and then, I mean, at the time I seen him, I probably had like 170 innings under my belt, which is more than I ever had. And like the things that I was doing in my start that I was just reacting on and not really having a game plan on, because, like I said, pitching was still also new. So what I was really trying to understand on Doc was, like, why are you going to do this, right? Why are you going to do that? For me, like you said, Ricky, I throw some, start blowing heaters, and if it's not broke, don't fix it. You know what I'm saying? But when do I go to my curveball? When do I go to my changeup? When, you know? So when Doc came down here, I said, Doc, sit me through one of your starts and tell me why you're doing this. Why this pitch? Why that pitch? So he sat down on his iPad and brought up his no-hitter with Philly in the playoffs against Cincinnati, and we went over every pitch, every at bat. And he just sat there and talked to me and was like, I did this. He's like, I threw this pitch just to get him off this. And it was like things that I never even thought about, because I just went out there and competed. Right. So it was like, it took my game to a whole different, like, understanding of what I could do as a pitcher, instead of just, like, you know, in the minor leagues, because my stats were so trash. And if you look at them, I probably shouldn't be in the big leagues. All I was trying to do was throw strikes, right? Well, it's like sometimes you can get in trouble throwing too many strikes, and that's what I didn't understand at the time either. So it's like just getting a mindset from a dude who's at the time an all-star, you know, like playoff, you name it, he did it. And even having to where he started, making his first start, almost throwing a no-hitter, and then going back down to high A. Having to make the transformation and going all the way back up to the top, and then becoming who he became, right? So it's like the whole process of Doc was just something I admired. And on both of those days, man, it was like I cried. It was weird. Like, and I'm not attached to any of those dudes, but it's like, you know, I got to meet Kobe one time at a restaurant in Newport Beach. I remember sending you the picture right after I did it, and it's like I never understood why fans always out when they're around me, because I'm like, I always tell everybody that I'm around, I'm like, yo, I'm just a normal human being. Like, I like to do the same stuff you did. And then I met Kobe, bro, and I'm like profusely sweating. I didn't know what to say. Like, it was bad, bro. Like that's how much I idolized Kobe. Funny story too. I remember my dad took me to a Laker game. I was probably like 5 or 6. Come home that night. It was like 2 or 3 in the morning. And my mom says the story the best. She said it was like 3:30 in the morning and I shouted on the top of my lungs, Lakers! Woke up the whole house. Kobe! Dude, just shouting in my sleep.
That's awesome. I know I've obviously I've never really shared this with a lot of people, but a text message that was sent from Doc to me, obviously I wanted to share it with Sanchi, and I shared it with him, and and I think it brought a lot of perspective, in the game that we play and stuff like that. And just, to look at the bigger picture, that it's not the end of the world, the struggles and this and that. In 2012, I think that's what killed me, honestly. It was just worrying about the different things and and worrying about the things that didn't really matter. I was like making them a bigger deal than what they were. And it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, I look back at it now and I'm like, yeah, it was a shitty year, but it shouldn't have been the end of the world. Yes, I was dealing with injuries, but I think I made them I was like, man, like, when am I going to end this losing streak and this and that and this and that, when I should have just been looking at the bigger picture and saying, all right, I'm in the big leagues. I'm blessed. I'm going to get these, these knees fixed and everything's going to move forward. And I think it was just, it's just tough. And I think that text message, obviously, that I shared, it just brought a different perspective. And I didn't really understand it when he sent it to me, but when I had a chance to read it again, once my career was over, it was like, fuck, this really made sense,
What was that, without revealing too much? Oh,
I know how you feel, bro. Just this past year, I lost. I had a losing streak like that, and I checked through this message time and time again to just like understand. It's like, it's all good at the end of the day, like I said. And I'm going through that process right now. It's like, bro, what I've done is not left. Let me just go get right. Let me go get healthy, and you'll be right back on the bandwagon like you were when I was at the top of my game. You know what I'm saying?
Rick, without revealing too much, what's like the overall theme of that message for like a young baseball player right now?
It was just more like, it was along the lines that everyone bleeds. We just do it in the public eye. And if you worked hard and you prepared, then that's all that should matter. You go out there, and if it doesn't go your way, it's okay, because you prepared to the best of your abilities. If you put in the work, the game, it's hard. The game of baseball is hard itself. It's really hard. You're going to fail more often than not. And I think the message that he was saying, make sure you take care of yourself, whether you do good, whether you do bad. Don't beat yourself up too much, because at the end of the day, you have to know if you put in the work. What does he say? You don't regret effort. You don't regret effort. You don't regret effort.
You're good.
Yeah, you regret not preparing, or something along those lines. And I'll pull it up one of these days, and just I've been meaning to read like half of it to share it with the fans at one point. But for now, I think I pretty discreet, and I keep it, just like I said, somebody like Sanchi, who was going through some rough times. I shared it with him, and I was like, listen, man, look, this is what one of the greatest said to me, and kind of just wanted to pass it down,
Was it you don't regret the outcome, you regret the effort, right? Something like that.
I'll look it up right now really quick. But,
yeah, we'll get that.
But
as we do that, though, people checking in right now. Was that Rick? I'm sorry.
I said I wanted Sanchi to touch a little bit. I mean, he got to experience a little bit of that. Just take us a little bit through that All-Star experience in San Diego. You're close to home. I mean, we obviously, another young life that got lost in Jose Fernandez through in that game. I mean, that whole atmosphere. You walk into that clubhouse. What was it like?
Oh, it was crazy, because like at the time, so leading up to the All-Star break, I'm like 11-1 with like 7, and I'm like, Oh, I'm for sure an all-star. Like, that's no question. And then the ballots came out, and I wasn't even close to being on there, right? And I'm like, so I was kind of my hopes up and like got shattered. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was one of those things where, I really just tried to, like I said, that year it was like a job opportunity every time I went out. So I was what I was doing every 2 days, and then that turned into what it turned into. So I remember I was out on the harbor with my dad, actually with the Toronto police out on the Toronto boat, and a couple guys were Craig Kimbrough went down, a couple pitchers went down, so they were getting add-ons. They like added Corey Kluber. I'm like, man, what? Like, I should for sure. And then so long story short, I heard this from Ned. It was like the Sunday, Ned Yost was the manager of the Royals, and they won the American League in 2015. So in 2016, they got to manage the All-Star team. So I remember we played, you know how in Toronto, our Saturday and Sunday games are at noon, right?
Yeah.
Saturday game, we're the first game on. And Ned Yost tells me this story. He goes, yeah, you were starting the game, and it was between you and one other guy. He said you came out, and I think it was like Kinsler, J. May, Mayberry, or who's the dude that was just with the Yankees, the outfielder, Cameron Maybin, right?
Yeah, Cameron Maybin.
And Miggy. And I punched out Kinsler, right? And he's sitting there with his coaches. He's like, hey, if he punches out Maybin, I'm calling him, right? Punched out Maybin. He goes, if he really punches out Miggy right now, I'm picking up the phone right now. I punch out Miggy. He said he picked up the phone and called the Blue Jays and told them that I was an all-star. I was like, oh, that's so sick. So that's how it became an all-star, right? So now it's like I already had plans to go with like Tulo, Gogo, Stroh. We were all going to Cabo. So I'm like, yeah. So I'm like, now I got to revert all my things to San Diego, right? Like my parents, it was cool. I found out on my mom's birthday, and I got to share the news with it on my mom to her birthday. So that was pretty cool, and they were with me in Toronto. But it's like, now how am I going to get all these people back to California in 2 days to go watch me pitch in this game? So Jesse Chavez, shout out to Jesse Chavez. He was taking a jet back home to Ontario with his family. He's like, yo, why don't you just me? He's like, I'll take you to Ontario, and then you can get a car service from Ontario down to San Diego. So like everybody on Sunday had taken off. So like everybody that was part of the All-Star festivities were already there. Like I'm like the last one to show up. Like the next day, didn't know what to do. Like they take us to the conference room. They're like, oh, hey, go get your ring size. And I'm like, ring size? And they're like, go do this, go do that. So it was like a whirlwind of everything. Didn't know what to do. Now I get into the clubhouse, and I'm around David, Trout, Mookie, Ha. I'm around all these superstars, and everybody's just like coming up to me like, bro, you're so nasty, you're so this. And it's like, damn, like that's cool to hear like how really people feel about you around the league. And it was like the same mindset how when I met Ricky, it's like, all right, I'm going to go in here, like shut my mouth. Like when I get 3 or 4, that's when I can start, being involved a little bit more. Until then, like just be here, do your job, this and that. Well, long story short, the time of my life, my grandparents got to come see me pitch. They passed away shortly after in 2017. So they got to see me, they got to witness me at my pinnacle in my career at that point. And it was an awesome time. The last time I had pitched in that stadium was when I was an Aflac All-American. So it was like Aflac All-American, 2016 MLB All-Star. That connection there was super cool too. And that was like going into the year, that was like one of my focuses. Like, bro, I want to be an All-Star because it's in San Diego. And how cool would it to be is like the last time I pitched there, I was an All-American, and now I'm doing this an All-Star. Like, because I still haven't been there in the big leagues to pitch like on the road. So those are legit the only 2 times I've ever pitched in that stadium.
That's awesome to hear, and like the experience and it, all of that. And Ricky talks about it, that you walk in there, the studs. But let's take you back, and it's great. Congratulations. Let's take you back because our crew, John, found the video of your debut in Toronto. Have you seen the video of this?
I will see.
Hit it, John, if you got it. The video of Sanchez making his debut. Where's he at? Is John listening? Oh, there it is. So there it is. You're in Toronto against the Sox. Look at that stud coming through.
Nasty.
Nasty punch out.
Dude. Hit him with the spin.
Ooh, hey. You weren't even close to that ball.
That ball wasn't.
You got Joey Bats playing first base too.
There it is, walking off. Look at the knees shaking. That is fantastic right there. You couldn't spit. You couldn't spit. That is fantastic.
Yeah, dude, I thought that ball that Poppy hit was a homer. Or maybe that might have been Mike Napoli, the one at the track that Kobe caught. I was like, oh my God, don't do this to me. Like, I do not need that. I do not need that right now.
I'm telling you, man, something about those big league stadiums, like any pop-up you see right off the bat, these guys hit them and you're like, oh, that's gone. And then these guys are like, your outfielders are just like cruising to these pop-ups.
Bro, I thought Melky would drop that one.
That's Poppy. Poppy to left field. Here's Napoli. Oh, he got a good piece of wood on that one. To the warning track, baby. Warning track.
Hey, that was funny too. That his first at bat, Josh Tully, the catcher, totally caught a ball a little low. And Tully told me after, he's like, that's low. He's like, no, it isn't. I got it as a strike. He's like, you're really gonna give this fucking rookie that pitch? Next pitch, threw it in the next pitch, I threw it in the same spot, straight two. I'm like, got him.
That's such a Tully story too, man.
Yeah, I miss that guy. Now let's take you full circle because now Mama Lynn Shipley is watching. You got people from the Arsenal watching, also the California Armada are watching, and I wanted you to go and check something out. We got pictures of you growing up in Barstow. We're going to take you full circle here, Aaron Sanchez. And just when you see these pictures, describe them, what it is. We basically took these from your Instagram. I think John is ready to go. You as a youngster, describe these pictures.
The one on the left, that's the first time I think I ever caught in my life. And I don't think I wanted to catch or wanted to catch, and my dad is either telling me to catch or not to catch. I don't know. It's probably one of those situations where my dad's like, take the gear off and get in the field. The middle picture is my all-star team. I think I'm like 9 or 10 there. West Barstow Little League. That's where it all started for me. And then on the one on the far right is the Rattlers. It was a little Barstow travel team that we started when I was probably like a 10 or 11, 9, 10, 11, 12-ish area. Nothing crazy. Played in a couple USSSA tournaments. But when some of the guys got older, it was too hard to keep us together. People started going their own ways, and then that's when I took my route down the hill to my travel team.
Yeah, and on the podcast, Ricky, we like to take guys down memory lane, and it's been a cool experience with this and doing it. And Rick, you raved about this kid for years, for at least half a decade, as long as I've known you. This guy performed. He delivered today, man. He was good.
No, he was ready, man. And I know he said, his grandparents got to see him at his pinnacle. I don't even think he realizes he hasn't reached that pinnacle yet, because I think there's so much more. He's still young, and it was like he's gotten a taste of it, and I think he knows what it takes, and hopefully we see many more years of success. I know, like I said, injuries suck. They're a part of this game, but it's just another stepping stone that you have to kind of go through, and hopefully he's able to overcome it. And next thing you know, we see him back on top, and
make sure,
usually
I'll make sure, you know what I'm saying?
That's right. And one of the ways
we talk a lot about that, and I feel like that I was just tapping into my shit in 16, and it's like, man, just get me back right. Everybody who fell off the wagon, will be right back on. I'll say later on, it's on me out back out there.
Yeah, and I told him from because he obviously he's a free agent right now, and obviously coming back from an injury. And I was like, all it takes is one team. One team gives you a shot. You get that opportunity, you grab it, you go out there and deal. The rest is history. The rest is going to take care for itself. And one of the ways we like to end the show, Sanchi, is if you can give yourself 18-year-old Aaron Sanchez advice, what would it be?
Be patient. Be patient and let things come to you. That's the biggest advice. Two biggest words of advice that I could say is, it's hard going through it. I mean, I blew Ricky's all the time, going through the, Ricky, why am I not? I'm this, Ricky, I'm that, Ricky, I'm this. It's like, bro, they don't care. It's like, you have to just understand, and that's one thing that I, not trying to get up too far off topic, is something that I wish I would have done in the minor leagues, just been present there. It's like, who cares if I'm gonna go or stay? They're gonna have their own plan, but like, just really master what I'm trying to do, master what I'm doing at high. It's because for me, I felt like I jumped out on a quick foot, 3-0, 4-0, sub-2. Why am I moving? Complacent. You know what I'm saying? And I caught myself at like low end where, I snapped out of that before I got the levels, reaching to the big leagues. But if I can get a younger Sanchez advice, it's, hey, be patient and just allow things to come to you and just stay on your path. Like Ricky said, just stay working hard and things will end up where they need to be, really.
Yeah, that's perfect. It's perfect, because the reason we ask that is because we have a big mix of different people listening. We have executives listening. We have people all over baseball. But one of the cool things is that we have a lot of young baseball players watching and listening, and that's why we always ask about the advice. And that's always something that hits. And notice, Ricky, nobody's ever said the same thing. Everybody has a different path, and it's awesome, man.
Everyone does have. They create their own path.
Yeah, stay working hard. Hard work opens up so many opportunities. Stay ready. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Like all these things that I said during the show, for all you young kids that are watching, man, it's really that's really what you got to live by. And if you can do that, take care of the little things, that you don't think are so big. If you take care of those things, man, you just set yourself up to be prepared in every avenue of life. Forget just sports and forget just hobbies, schoolwork, real job, whatever you pursue.
If you're a lifeguard or if you're driving a truck, whatever it is, keep on doing it the best. Thanks to everybody that listened and enjoyed. Make sure you guys go on iTunes and rate, review, and share it. Rewatch it. Sancho, by the way, just to let you know, I'm going to cut up a bunch of these for little promos, and I'm going to start tagging you a lot. Don't get mad at me, but I'm just going to tag you. We're going to blow it up because your message today was really good, man.
I forgive you guys, and my fans. I'm not very active. I just wish I could be more into it. It's hard for me to carry around my phone all day and put on what's going on. Ricky said, "Hey, when Ricky's like, hey, go do this," it's done. So anything you need, you got it.
And your message is really good, man. People need to hear more of it. So for everybody in Barstow, Paul Gutierrez, who covers Raiders for ESPN, Joe Martinez, the announcer, was watching. Dino Ebo, I'm going to send some of this to him. But regardless, so Sanj, what I took away from this is that you're inspiring the kids, man.
Say that again, Beto?
I said, from what I took of this is, dude, you're listening, you're dreaming, you're inspiring to everybody. So keep on going. And I know that you've gained a lot of fans today, man. It's you're easy to root for, and we definitely want you back.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Ricky. I know it took a while, but I told you I would do it, and it was a blast.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And I told you I told you I'd always do it. So thanks for having me on, Beto. I appreciate it. Nice to meet you. Like I said, I felt like I already knew.
Yeah, and don't worry, we're gonna have you on multiple times after this. Don't worry. Once we get you in person, it's over. You messed up. Give me your number, man.
I appreciate you coming on, man. Like I said, I wanted to share your story, and some of this, like I tell Beto all the time, some of this stuff I did not know. The whole waking up at 4 a.m. and just the stuff that you had to do in order for you to reach the dream that you wanted to dream. And I mean, everyone has their own path and their unique story. And I think that's what makes this show special. And we let you guys kind of hold the mic and tell it. And like I said, I'm thankful that you came on. And, like I told Beto, I've always considered you like a little brother and wish you nothing but the best. And I hope that, everyone who's doubted you, is one day just sitting there saying like, damn, like this kid is back. He's back, and I know you're going to work hard and we can't wait to see you back, man.
I appreciate it, Ricky. You know the feeling's mutual, bro.
For sure.
Yeah, and thanks to everybody that left messages on the YouTube. Like Lena B says, my son Benjamin looks up to you, Aaron. Never forget when you signed his cap at Winterfest. The little things for people. Make sure you guys go listen to Casa de Calacas. They do our intro. Concrete Live did the video for it. West Side Love is where you want to go and check out the hats that Ricky is rocking. I got the brown one. Aaron, we're going to get you one, whatever color you need. What's called the Barstow Aztecs. We'll get you a Westside Love one. And if you guys want 101 cider, use the code Romero for a discount. For everybody involved with Pro Angle, our man John and Jeff Proctor, I'm Beth Duran. Thanks for listening. Let's Go, Ricky Road.
Let's go, Ricky Road. Let's go, Ricky Road.